I've been waiting for this day for a while. I get to nerd out on video and storytelling and learn from other people. So today's event is a roundtable with some video producers that are involved with LendingTree, Lowe's Home Improvement, and Sealed Air. This is going to be awesome and hopefully interactive. We've got chat function over on the side. We have Spherical team members that are on standby. If you have questions and need to interact with us, we'll be able to answer those questions as this chat is going on. So let's just dive right into it. I can't wait. Guys, thanks for jumping on. This is exciting. Really great.
Yeah.
We're here with Brooks Quinn from LendingTree, Brent Kunzie from Sealed Air Corporation, and Kevin Ridley from Lowe's Home Improvement. Guys, this is going to be great. We've already set the stage. This is going to be a little bit of nerd talk about all things video and things that are going on in your world and in our world here at Spherical Media. But let's start, and I'll start with you, Brent. Give us a little bit of background, who you're with, what got you to the position that you're in.
Yeah, thank you for having us. So I'm Brent Kunzie with Sealed Air. I am Sealed Air's Director of Video Production and Multimedia. A couple of years ago when I started with Sealed Air, we brought video production in-house. So I run a small studio within our in-house agency group. And so we handle everything from corporate storytelling and brand marketing to virtual events, photo shoots, product photography, audio recording. If it's multimedia, video or audio, it's our world. This was my first step into corporate media. I started out when I was 15 working in entertainment for MTV, Disney ABC Television Group. Eventually worked my way to Walt Disney World, and I was a union stagehand for them for a few years. I worked for NFL Network as an associate producer. Came to Charlotte when I started with NASCAR Productions, and I worked in their commercial production division doing work for their sponsors and teams. And so the next step was taking everything I learned in broadcast and entertainment and trying to apply it to a B2B brand here in Charlotte.
That's awesome. I want to follow up a little bit later. I'd love for you to kind of dive into the differences of your past experience to working on an internal team that you're currently working on. Kevin, let me throw it to you, man. Give us a little intro of what you do and where you came from.
Sure. Yeah. My name is Kevin Ridley with Lowe's. I'm a digital content manager for Lowe's Corporate Communications. And really, we're just a team of 7, our digital content team. And we're basically in charge of a lot of internal video projects as well as supporting our business partners within Lowe's, whether it be training videos or executive communications. And one of the storytelling parts of our work is we also run an external website. It's a branded journalism website called newsroom.lowes.com. And that's our platform to really just enhance the company's reputation. That's our storytelling platform where we get to tell great stories about, the over 300,000 associates we have across the country and in Canada. I've been with Lowe's for 5 years. And before that, I had a background in television news, worked a number of years in TV news. And really, quite frankly, how I got in here, someone took a chance on me. And it was a career change for me, and it's benefited me professionally as well as for my family. So it's good to be with this company.
Yeah, how many? You talk about how many associates you guys are catering to, but how many people are on your team specifically?
Sure, we have 7 people on our team, and they have really just we're kind of focused on, like, I have a background in video. We have a graphics person, we have a couple writers, and so if you put it all together, we have a pretty well-rounded team of 7 of us. And some of the projects we do, we'll support like the PR team when they have PR pitches. Our events team, we support them as well as most of all of our live events are now switched to a virtual format. So we do a lot of support for that group as well.
Interesting. Yeah. Brooks, well, how about you, man? How did you get to where you are?
Yeah, man. So I'm Brooks Quinn. I'm the in-house video producer at LendingTree. I help create all of our commercial content from broadcast to web to social, and from video production to photography, you name it, all across the board. I have been in a unique situation with LendingTree. I started right at mid-March of last year, so right during the peak of the pandemic. I've been in a work from home situation, so it's been a unique experience. Previously, I was with a smaller production agency, and we were go, travel all the time, shooting productions all around the country and sometimes internationally. And then now just doors close on any of that, and having to really shift gears and how do I make this work for LendingTree? So it's been an awesome opportunity with them, and I love working with them.
Yeah, and how many folks are on your team?
So we have a small team. So if you really break it down, I'm a team of one as far as video production. So I'm the only one shooting and editing, but we've got a team of writers and graphic designers and developers, and I'm kind of hunkered in with that group of people.
Yeah. When we were thinking about questions to maybe talk about, a number of things kind of came up, but really COVID is kind of the elephant in the room. Talk pre-COVID, what was kind of the normal workflow, the types of projects that you guys specialized in? And Kevin, I'll throw it to you first.
But before all this hit, every Monday we have what's a live broadcast to all the store leadership teams, basically all the store managers across the nation. And we have a broadcast studio here on campus, and it's really the purpose of it is just to align all the store managers on the priorities of the week. And it's just like what you see in a newscast. It's a format just like that. It's a half-hour broadcast. And then after that Monday, what we do is we do some number of storytelling projects for our external website. And like I said before, anything to support the PR staff in terms of photography, video, and our events team. And as well as executive communication, a lot of that, because our executive leadership team firmly believes in video broadcasting. They feel that's probably one of the most effective messages they have to our associates out across the country.
Yeah, and Brent, what was the normal back then for you guys?
Yeah, I think it was kind of similar on our end. You know, we support a mix of both internal and external marketing and communications. So it was a lot more working with our leadership team. You know, sometimes our CEO may do a live hit on Fox Business or CNBC, and so we'll support, you know, a live hit and transport one day, and then the next day we might be off to one of our customers' locations to do a success story, or maybe one of our international locations to film a piece with them. Early COVID, it really, you know, grounded all to a halt. We were supposed to support some events around the country for sales and marketing. We were supposed to travel for a few international customer stories, and all that kind of, it pressed pause on all that. And it wasn't until probably the fall that we were back traveling again and getting some of that content. Yeah, it sounds very similar. My team is myself and one other, but we're part of a larger in-house agency group with art directors and copywriters and graphic designers. And it used to be a lot more collaborative, where we were all housed within the same area. And it's definitely changed.
Yeah, and Brooks, you had no perspective coming in. I'd imagine coming in kind of new. What did you think you were joining and what you would be doing immediately? And then, and obviously, when that switch got flipped when you're working from home, how did that change?
Well, whenever originally I was offered the position, they were really excited about amping up their online video content. And same here, I was really hyped about doing it. And you know, we had a really solid game plan going into the year. Right before I was going through the hiring process, and all that just kind of came to a stop, and we had to really take a step back and think, what are we going to do now? You know, because before we were going to do more in-studio work and a few travel productions and do more, you know, human interest stories to tie in the brand of LendingTree, and just hasn't been able to happen this year. So we've had to pivot and focus more on animation and you know, pushing our blog a little bit more and trying to accompany some video content with the blog. So it's still a learning process, but we really have bounced back great, and we're really amping up to hopefully get some more online and video and broadcast presence in this year.
Yeah, it's great. It's nice to hear that everybody's optimistic that they're going to be able to come back to normal, or at least normal is going to look different than what it's been like for the last several months. Brent, when that switch got flipped, and I guess the intent of video and maybe even how you capture that video and the messaging changed because of COVID, what was that experience like from your seat?
We kind of thought immediately that we were going to have all the time in the world to finally go back and clean up projects, rebrand some older content. We thought this was going to be a great opportunity to kind of address our backlog of content. We did a great job in the first 3 years of our studio with our internal business development of getting stakeholders involved and getting them to get used to using our services. So we thought we were going to have that. And what it quickly turned into was driving a lot of internal communications with leadership. And so it was quickly figuring out how to leverage platforms like Microsoft Teams or WebEx to be able to capture content remotely and edit it here from my home office and then distribute it. Thankfully, we had some international coworkers in Asia and in EMEA who kind of saw COVID coming, and they kind of tipped us off and said, hey, you may want to start making some preparations. So we took all of our media, dumped it to some RAIDs, split it between myself and my producer. So we tried to prepare as best as we could, assuming it was a couple months long. We didn't anticipate a year later I'd still be in this home office, primarily working from here. But I would say the benefit that has come out of this is a renewed energy around our request for new media asset management and remote work platforms that, frankly, Sealed Air wasn't interested in investing in previously. So I think our future work is there's a brighter outlook now because of it. And the type of content we were producing has definitely become more diverse because of it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you got tipped off early. How much earlier did you get tipped off to when things actually changed here in the States?
That was the thing. In the wintertime, we had the two communications leaders, one from APAC, one from EMEA, here for kind of our annual kickoff meetings. And they said to us, hey, there's this weird thing going on. There's this virus. Can you help us find some of these N95 masks? And I was like, yeah, sure. There's a Harris Teeter on my way home. I'll pick it up. And so I grabbed them a box of masks. And it was a couple weeks later, my coworker from EMEA called me and said, hey, I want to let you know these are the most valuable things I have right now. And I just thought it was nuts. And so she kind of was explaining to us how, lockdowns were happening in Europe, and our facility there was going through some, challenges with making sure we did temperature checks, and never thought it would come here. I was in San Francisco on vacation when, all of the travel lockdowns happened. And I think that was the moment that it hit. And I went back to my office that next day and I said to my producer, we need to start packing stuff up. I think we're next. So trying to follow it along, but we're trying not to sound like crazy people that we're packing up everything like the world was ending, but knowing video is not something you can just easily start doing from home without some preparation. We tried to just get ahead of it and say, worst case, we're going to look like those people that stocked up on bread and milk and eggs before the hurricane that didn't come.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Kevin, did you guys have any prep? Did you know this was happening? And was there any kind of downtime before you guys kind of got the wheels of production going again?
I don't think we got any type of heads up. I remember just a year ago, I think I was in 6 different cities in a course of like 2 weeks. So, we heard, news stories about it, but I don't think we really accepted it. And then when it really hit in mid-March, it was the same thing. We thought maybe we'd have time to put all our projects on hold and be able to work on some of the backlog that we had. But our stores adapted very quickly to the changing environment. And so we had to reflect that with all the assets that we had. The assets we had before weren't really relevant anymore, the changing environment. So we really had to start all over again with the reflect what the stores see today. And so it's moved quite rapidly and it changed quickly. And then one thing we had to rely on is what, user-generated content, because we were on a travel restriction. So we had to trust some of our associates to shoot videos on their own for some of our projects. And David, I share your best practice and tips for UGC content. I actually share that video to associates so they can execute what we're trying to look for.
Don't want to scare people away, Kevin. You probably shouldn't share that.
Well, one thing I found out is they don't follow every single rule. I've noticed that they'll skip one of them.
I'm just curious with the group, if you've got projects that are kind of already in motion and you've already started pre-production on a lot of that content, and maybe storylines have already been worked out, and when those projects are put on hold or scrapped because they're not relevant anymore, how heartbreaking is that? And I'll throw that to you, Brooks. Is that when you have these plans, is it just like, oh, it's just going to crack my heart in half to know that I have to just abandon this and start over with maybe less great quality content maybe?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, when the pandemic first started, I was actually in Europe. So in fall of 2019, I participated in the Charlotte 48-Hour Film Festival and won the festival. So with that, you got to go to the grand finale where all the other participating cities showcased all their films. So I was in Rotterdam, Netherlands, the first week of March, and I extended the trip to hang out a little bit more in Europe. And by the time I got home, flight restrictions had happened, and I was just starting. I was told from LendingTree, like, yeah, you're going to start this Friday. Like, we'll get you all onboarded and ready to roll. And that Wednesday, they're like, yeah, so we're just going to mail your laptop to you, and we'll just hold tight, and we'll let you know what's going to happen. And I had all these grand plans for the first week of like, oh, well, we can shoot this and shoot that, and then now it's like, oh, well, here's some cell phone footage we need you to cut together, and here's a Zoom call we'd love for you to record for us. So it was a little heartbreaking at first to just, go from this go pace to now, like, you got to pivot and figure out how to make this content entertaining and still get the point across, regardless if you have your, full studio of lights and cameras.
Yeah. I think in the beginning of COVID, from a production house mentality, if we ever saw cell phone video or webcam videos, we kind of cringed and we're like, oh my God, let's not put that out there. We can do better. Yeah, let's go horizontal, not vertical. Right. I'm curious. Do you see our acceptance of that now as the new norm moving forward?
I do. I think even more so now. I think the audience now, number one, we all kind of accept that type of format. But in a way, it also enhances the authenticity of the message you're giving across. It looks more natural that way, at least from my point of view. And so just sometimes it just looks more natural than a video that's real polished looking.
Yeah. What do you think, Brent?
I think it's accepted in certain formats. I think if you're looking at more brand marketing and, more of what I would refer to as like the agency-driven content, I think you're going to have a little less acceptance there. I think early on, you looked at like Discovery Communications started pivoting a lot of their TV shows to being produced more participant produced, where it was a lot more, GoPros and cell phone content. And they quickly saw that the audience was accepting of it for a time, but the burnout was coming quick for it. And so they kind of pivoted back their content to more of the traditional production. And we did the same thing. I think there was only so long people would, tolerate bad audio from a Teams call recording until, if we did a customer testimonial video, we wanted to make sure that we were putting our best foot forward. So we kind of held off on that until there was a time when we could go shoot it. But I think there will be space for that. I think, especially for internal communications, I think it opens up a whole area. We've started working with some of our internal teams to leverage Adobe Premiere Rush, which runs on iPhone, so that they can capture content in their facilities, whether it be for a product demo for their customers, or whether it be some form of supply chain or internal communications. It's a great way to enable people kind of in these far-flung locations where it doesn't make financial sense for us to travel there or to hire a local freelancer. It's definitely unlocked a new form of communication for us, at least at Sealed Air.
And back to you, Brooks, can you tell an effective story where it's emotional and it moves the needle in this current format?
Absolutely. I see no reason why anyone can't. And I mean, encourage people to do it. I mean, if you've got a camera in your pocket that can shoot 4K video and slow motion, there's no excuse that you shouldn't be able to create some content with it. And I think just society, it's become a lot more acceptable to see that kind of footage, and it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's going to be a common thing to see Zoom calls and cell phone footage be used regularly. And I think you can still tell a great story via an iPhone or the camera on your laptop or iPad that it's still there. It's, there's always going to be a need for that polished cinematic looking footage, but it's going to be, I think, a little bit more forgiving to people who want to shoot something on a cell phone.
And Kevin, how do you determine success, especially during this COVID time period, with content that you guys are having to scrounge together to be able to make these impactful stories?
I think the one way we kind of judge it, it's really not by view counts, but it's more about the engagement. If some of our associates are inspired by the stories that we tell, you'll get a lot of comments about it. And so that's how we that's kind of how we gauge it.
Is that different than from before, when we were putting that professional spin on everything?
No, really, not really. I think it's always been the same for us.
Yeah. How about you, Brent? Are you guys looking at different kind of analytics or maybe touch points and interactions to determine success of these videos?
Yeah, it depends on the type of content. Our internal communications, obviously, we kind of echo the same thing of what is the engagement of the employees and how they respond to the content. For external videos, our customer success stories and brand marketing, for us, it's what is the return on investment for our sales organization. How can we drive sales, especially right now where our sales teams can't really go out and sell in person anymore. It's become more and more important that we provide them with quality video content to help them be able to sell some of our solutions remotely.
Nice. This is the selfish question, being the only agency guy here. At what point do you guys, before and current COVID, tap into agencies like, say, a Spherical Media, or look into another vendor or partner? And I'll start with you, Kevin, because we've got a relationship with you guys.
Yeah, I think even more so now, because I'm still on travel restrictions, and the business is starting to come back to normal. So I can't travel to Dallas or anything like and do those stories. So we have to rely on vendor partners even now. So a lot of the decision making comes really to bandwidth, travel, and then the return on our investment. And that's how we determine if we should get vendor support, such as Spherical Media, on those types of projects.
Yeah, and Brooks, do you guys tap into kind of the vendor world to help you guys out if there are, like, say, restrictions on travel and things like that?
We do, yeah. The times that we have to reach out to production agencies and agencies in general is the scale of the project. If it's something that we can't handle within our creative team internally, we outsource what we like. If we need crew, or with travel restrictions, if we need to hire a crew, in a different city or a different state, it makes sense to just go through an agency who has those relationships with other vendors around the country.
And how do you determine that's the right fit? I'm curious with that, Brooks.
It just depends on what style we're going for. Just recently, LendingTree, we're pushing a big direct response campaign. It's something that we typically don't do. We're more of a brand commercial campaign company, but we're really pushing to drive traffic to our website, and for our older audiences to call a number and engage in the website. So typically for that's something we could do internally, but we reached out to a crew to help us out that does a really good job at doing direct response commercials. And then if I want to do more of a brand focused spot, I know which agencies I usually like to try to call on for those. So it just depends on whoever is really skilled in those certain things.
And then Brent, my last question to you is, like, when do you guys tap into external help on the video side?
Yeah, usually our first call, our first level is our network of freelancers that we work with. The background that I came out of, I have a great pool of freelancers around the country that we can tap into. So if it's something where it doesn't make sense financially for us to travel and we just need a shooter locally, we'll try to tap into that first. But really, we move externally if there's a form of specialization that we don't really have within our team. One great example of that is when we did our rebrand. We know that we wanted our motion graphics package to be done a certain way, so we found a great agency that specialized in that. And then I think capacity. If we're kind of at our limit and our backlog is really piling up, and we have a project that needs to be done, we'll look to an external partner to help us with that.
Guys, I can't thank you enough. It was so much fun, and thank you for watching. If you got any questions or comments that may be lingering after this discussion, drop me an email below at david@spiraclebuzz.com. Take care.